A good Friday morning to you, and welcome to Bay Talk, an insider's look at Put-in-Bay with your host, Caitlin Market. Bay Talk is brought to you each week by the Miller Ferry, with service from Catawba Island to Put-in-Bay and Middle Bass Island. And now here's Katie with Bay Talk on WPCR and WPIB Radio.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Bay Talk, your island news, events, and more with your host, Katie Market. I'd like to welcome everyone back on this beautiful Friday morning. We have Victoria Weekend coming up on Put-in-Bay. Lots of fun events over. We have the monument opening. I'd like to welcome our guests today. We have some representatives from Perry's International Peace Memorial, and they are going to tell us more about the events and all of the different fun things that are going on with the monument, as well as give you some different facts about the Battle of Lake Erie and how it played such a big part in the creation of the island and Perry's International Peace Memorial. I'd like to welcome three of our guests from Perry's Monument for stopping over today. We have Alison Lawson, Rob Whitman, and Kathy Holbrook. Thank you all for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having everyone here, and I'm excited. We're going to learn a little about the Battle of Lake Erie, some events that are happening over at the monument, and about the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So all fun events that we're going to learn about. Rob Whitman, actually, I told you before that I was a teacher for 7th grade, and I had a group who presented about the Battle of Lake Erie, and Rob actually came in and talked to them and did a cool little presentation about the Battle of Lake Erie. And once he did that, I kind of realized that not very many people, I guess, know much about the battle here in the War of 1812, so we're going to get a little history lesson today, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, Rob, you're very educated about the Battle of Lake Erie. I consider you my expert, and I come to you with all my questions. So, can you just kind of give us an overview about what the Battle of Lake Erie was and how it impacted?
The Battle of Lake Erie is a naval battle on Lake Erie during the War of 1812, in particular the second year of the war in 1813. 1812, that first year, did not go very well for the U.S. We thought it'd be an easy war, and then it wasn't going to be easy, so we had to go to new plans, which include building a navy on Lake Erie. And so, for a number of reasons, but boils down to the lakes and the rivers are the highways of the day. So to transport men, supplies, it's easier to do it by ship than walking. There's no railroads, canals back then. So that's when late fall 1812, they start building the Navy. By spring, some of the boats are launched. They were built in Erie, Pennsylvania. By midsummer, they're floating, rigged, ready to go. The biggest problem is they do not have enough men. Perry is requesting men. He's hounding his supervisor, Isaac Chauncey, over in Lake Ontario. He hounds, goes around his commander, and actually goes to the Secretary of Navy, which ruffles his commander's feathers. All sorts of issues. But finally, he gets more men. Still not enough overall when he sets sail to the west end of the lake from Erie, Pennsylvania. He meets up with General Harrison. They work out their plans for how to fight this war out here. Mm-hmm. And it's then that Perry Price somehow brings up he can't take all of his vessels into battle. He has enough men to sail all of them, but not to fight and sail at the same time. Over 100 men at that point volunteer to serve in the Battle of Lake Erie. So you got artillerymen, you got soldiers, you got infantry, you got dragoons, guys normally on horseback, all volunteering to help the Navy. And that's what gathers. They gather out here at Put-in-Bay. Why? Because the lakes and the rivers are the highway, and this is directly out from the Detroit River where the British fleet is anchored, where the British Army's at. So for the British Navy to get supplies, they have to pretty much sail past here. So Perry can watch it. He's cut off their supply route. And since he's done that, the British, in some ways, are cutting their rations to their men. So they're running low on food. Meanwhile, Perry's men are drinking the lake water, and they're getting sick, which will be key to the battle. But the night of September 9th, the British have come to the point it's either they set sail to go meet the U.S. in battle, or at least try to sneak past them, or that's, okay, we can cut our losses, and we give up a section of Canada, give up without a fight. And so that night is when the British raise anchor. They sail, drift out the Detroit River. The next morning, September 10th, is when Perry's men spot them, and they spend several hours between here and Rattlesnake tacking back and forth, trying to get the advantage of the wind. Because back during sailing battles back then, you wanted that advantage. You could, if you had control of the wind, you could decide how close these vessels got to each other. Also, the positions of the ships in relation to the water surface could create a small target or a big target. So Perry spends hours trying to get round to the side of the British so he can have the advantage of wind. After several hours, his men are getting tired, certainly, and he decides to issue the orders to turn around. They're going to fight the battle amongst the islands, let the British have the advantage of the wind, and right then, before that order can be executed, the wind shifts. It carries him out into battle. It's a light wind, so it takes him a while to get out there. It's about noon when the first shots are fired, and it's from the British because many of their vessels are armed with long guns, traditional cannons that can hit something a mile or more away, accurate to a half mile. Perry, the bulk of the Lawrence and the Niagara, his flagship and the sister ship to the flagship, are carronades, short, stubby-barreled cannons, hit something about a half mile away, accurate to less than a quarter of a mile. So you can see that's why Perry wanted the advantage of the wind. He's slowly inching his way towards them. And for the first 2 hours of the battle, the Lawrence, the flagship, and a couple of the smaller vessels are in the battle with most of the British line by themselves. Many issues people wonder, like, why didn't the other vessels come up? The captain of the Niagara, Jesse Elliott, maintains he was following orders that day. He was ordered to maintain his position in line, traditional military doctrine. He was also said there wasn't enough wind, which the wind was kind of finicky that day, so there is possibilities there. However, during the battle, the British are able to switch their arrangement of ships. So they had enough wind at least. But either way, for 2 hours, the Lawrence with smaller vessels are in the battle. They take a pounding. 80% casualties, roughly, on the U.S. Lawrence and also the British ships. Most naval battles didn't go that high. Why? Because you hit 40% and men start saying, hey, I don't think we should keep fighting anymore. But this was the battle where Perry and his men had been hearing reports from William Henry Harrison, the Army commander out here, that, yeah, we need you to gain control of the lake. So this is very important to their allies in the Army. For the British, it's very important because it's either this battle or nothing. If they lose, they've lost the war out here. So it's a big thing, and both sides continue to fight. And after about 2 hours, that's when Perry notices the Niagara finally getting a little closer. So he jumps into a rowboat with some sailors. They roam over to the Niagara, and he takes command of the Niagara. Jesse Elliott, the captain of the Niagara, depending on which version you believe, but basically volunteers to jump in that rowboat to go speed the other smaller U.S. vessels, get them up into battle. Perry adds more sails right towards the British fleet at this point, and the British realize, oh no, he's got a brand new boat. What are we going to do? Sure, we were tag teaming the Lawrence. We get inflicted heavily damaged, but we've been heavily damaged as well. So they're going to wear ship. They're going to turn their two big vessels around, so they're unengaged side. The side that wouldn't have had direct fire is going to be facing the U.S. Problem is, the senior officers for the British are all killed or wounded, so they're out of action. So you get junior officers commanding damaged ship. Just like the U.S. didn't have enough sailors, the British relied on the Army to fulfill the number of needed men for the crews. So for all these reasons, the Queen Charlotte and the Detroit, the two biggest British ships, actually run into each other, get tangled together. Meanwhile, the smaller British vessels ahead of them continue to sail. And so now there's a gap developing. Perry sails right for that gap, and what he claims at half-pistol range, he breaks the line, crosses the T, so his vessel is pointing the opposite direction of the British, so they can't really shoot back at him, but he can shoot back. Double shotting means taking a 32-pound cannonball and a 32-pound grape shot, which is a bunch of little cannonballs bundled up, and it's wrapped up in canvas, so it looks like a bundle of grapes. Half pistol range, roughly 30 yards. Mm-hmm. and he fires out both sides of his vessel. So he can hit the little vessels and he can hit the big vessels all at the same time, and the British cannot really shoot back. About 15 minutes of that, the British ships start surrendering one by one. A couple of the smaller ones try to make a run for it. The Scorpion and one of the other small U.S. vessels chases after them, so the U.S. schooner Scorpion gets to fire the first and the last shot for the U.S. in the battle. Those vessels surrender. It's one of the few times the British squadron is lost in battle to being captured. So it's a big deal for this to happen, and it's out here in Lake Erie. And that's sort of the quick version of the battle.
Well, that's perfect, because I grew up here, and of course I'm growing up listening to this story over and over again, but I have to say the most detailed story I've ever got was from Rob here, and I think it's a perfect summary of the battle. Why was this battle so important to the war, though?
It was, in many regards, it's very important for the people that live in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, because it helps settle our area out here. It's a pivot moment. It's by far not the biggest battle. It's not the most strategic battle of the war. There's plenty more battles that get that claim. But if you're from Ohio or Kentucky or any of these western states, to be able to say that connection to beating the British out here on Lake Erie, and when they go to negotiate the treaty, it is one of the few places, as a result of the Battle of Lake Erie, you have the Battle of the Thames in Canada, where William Henry Harrison wins a big victory. And we have a small toehold in Canada that when the negotiators are negotiating, they might have been able, if they're playing cards, say, hey, Battle of Lake Erie, here's our card. Sure, you might be having your foothold in Fort Niagara, some of Maine. We got part of Canada, and it may have the diplomats come down to, you know what, trade back and forth. Is it the same as if the battle had happened? It was a land battle at Quebec, the major city of Canada. That would have been a more important battle. But for people local, possibly for that diplomatic ties, also with the way Perry buries the officers after the battle, may have all played a part in it being important out here.
So how Perry buried the officers on both sides here? Can you explain a little more about that?
Yeah, officers were gentlemen, so they get buried on land versus the regular enlisted soldier and sailor got buried at sea. So the day after the battle, September 11th, they sail back to Put-in-Bay, and it's actually on the 12th. There's a joint funeral ceremony. And it's not like Perry went and buried the U.S. in one spot and the British, he buried them together. And it's believed to be British-American, British alternating. And it could be any number of things you could read into it. They're equal in death. Maybe they just did their best. Any sailor or officer would hope that the enemy would give them the respect they deserve if they tried their hardest in battle. So that might have been an important influence.
Yeah, and definitely something you probably didn't see much back then in war, maybe.
You saw burials, but I don't know if I've ever seen one where they went and buried them together.
Together, yeah. And I'm sure that played, some part.
Yeah.
So, we don't have Rob as our personal guide everywhere we go. So where can our visitors, when they come up to visit Put-in-Bay, learn more about the Battle of Lake Erie?
We have ranger programs in our visitor center during the week, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we will have rangers dressed up as either the soldiers, the sailors, Marines, all sorts of different military personnel from the Battle of Lake Erie. And on the hour from 11 to 5 o'clock, they'll give a short talk on the war, what they're wearing, and then they'll demonstrate the musket of the day. Once a month, we pull out our reproduction 32-pound carronade, so big booms on the island once a month or one weekend a month.
I always forget which weekend that is, and I always there's the cannons again.
So those are probably the easiest ways. We do have our historic rowing team this year, so we've got some special things trying to develop with them as programs, another aspect of it rather than just the normal shooting sort of demonstrations.
Great, well that sounds fun. And these events, how can they learn more about these events?
Through our Facebook, through our Twitter, so social media, also the park's website, or just call in the park.
Calling and saying, hey, what's up this week? Well, that's fun. To talk a little more about events, we have Alison Lawson here with us. And can you tell us a little bit more about your job and what you're doing?
So this year I am the Centennial Coordinator. That is a basically in charge of events now that we've lost our special events coordinator.
Okay.
So lots of event planning on my part, lots of working with other rangers and scheduling and things like that. So many events happening this season with the Centennial of the Park Service, so there's plenty for me to do.
You're a busy girl this summer.
Yes.
And actually, everyone is looking forward to the opening of Perry's Monument. I know it was always a big weekend, Victoria weekend. What is going on this opening weekend?
Well, I mean, our staff is very busy with getting prepared for opening weekend this week, and so we don't have a lot of events happening actually on that weekend.
Okay.
We will have our musket demonstrations happening. Yes.
Sure.
Maybe.
To be announced, yeah.
Yes.
Come on by and see. If you hear it, you can.
If you can hear
by.
it, yeah, you can stop by. But that following week, the 24th, 25th, and 26th are our Perry Education Days. So we'll have plenty of school groups on the island here with us. They'll get a chance to walk through our programs that we have set up for the Rangers, medical, historic cooking. We'll also have a setup for the Centennial of the Park Service to give the children a little bit of insight on what the Park Service does and what they could potentially do as a career in the Park Service one day if they choose to. So those 3 days have us pretty much booked up with
And that's
planning
Memorial
and things.
Weekend, you said? I'm sorry, what were the dates on that again?
24th, 25th, and 26th.
Perfect. So
Yes.
that's a big day. And it's all going to be over at Perry's Monument on the grounds there?
Yes,
Okay.
between our visitor center and the memorial itself.
Okay,
So.
very cool. So now that the monument is going to be open, what are the hours and the days where our visitors can come?
Our hours will be the same as last year, 10 to 5.
Okay.
Visitors can come. They're open to come in whenever. 10 to 6?
Yeah.
Maybe open a little later, 10 to 6?
10 to 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
The core of the summer, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it gives visitors an extra hour to go visit.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's all right. So 10 to 6 every day. And what is
Yes.
the cost to go up into the monument?
Well, this year is definitely a big change for us.
Mm-hmm.
We are bumping up from $3 to $5.
Okay.
This has been years in the making, needing to happen. So it's just come to the point where we are bumping up the price, which it's going to be a little bit of an issue, we think, maybe for some people.
Well,
but
$5 still, I think, is a very reasonable price. And
Yes.
that's to go up into the monument, correct?
Yes. The cost is, it's absolutely free to visit our visitor center, listen to the ranger programs. So definitely still a cheaper thing to do on the island for our visitors.
Right, and family friendly.
Exactly.
Okay. So, can you give us some facts about the monument? Why is the monument there? Why is it so important? I don't know who wants to talk about this.
You want to go? You want me to?
You can.
Okay. So, Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial commemorates not only the Battle of Lake Erie and Perry's men that fought during the Battle of Lake Erie, but it also commemorates the peace that came out of the War of 1812 between the United States, Great Britain, and Canada.
Okay.
We're the only international peace memorial in the national park system, so we're very proud of that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a very cool, and people come up to the island and say, "Oh, where's that big tower?" And I'm like, "Well, it has a little more meaning than that."
Exactly.
So they come in and they can learn all about it, and they come out, chanting off the Battle of Lake Erie and different
Yes.
facts about it. So it's very interesting, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So how can visitors explore the island if they want to find out more about our park services? Can they, besides the visitor center, what other events do you have, I guess, going on this year?
Oh, we'll have plenty of events on the park grounds. As Rob mentioned, we have our musket and carronade demonstrations. We also are going to start doing special ranger programs with some of our seasoned rangers, like Rob himself. He'll give some programs every once in a while. Kathy
Okay.
will also be giving some certain programs,
Okay.
and those are the real special ones for us. We'll also are going to be doing, our big event is 100 Days to Find Your Park. So from May 21st when we open all the way until August 26th after the centennial, those 100 days, we're going to have some sort of an event going on at the park. So whether it be a small event or a big event, we'll have our normal big events as the Perry Education Days. Those are pretty big for us. But we're also just we're going to emphasize our ranger programs and try to get more people to listen to us and hear the story of the Battle of Lake Erie, but also listen to, lots of outsiders coming in to talk about the lake health and things like that. So we're pretty excited to have more people come and give programs every day.
Oh, and that's every day for that
Every
100
day.
days. And
Yes.
if our visitors want to come and they want to see maybe what's going on that day, where can they visit to find that information?
We'll most likely have it posted on our social social media pages as well. And then once we fully nail down every date of the 100 days, then we'll make sure that we post it on our website.
It's a lot of events like to coordinate.
It is.
What events do you have right now?
So for the month of May, we have, as we were talking about, our opening day. That does count as a big event for us because, lots of staff has to be all focused on that. We have our Perry Education Days. We will have musket demonstrations on the 27th of May. 28th and 29th of May is Carronade Weekend. So people will want to come out and see that. That's always a big thing.
And that's at the monument, correct?
Yes.
All of these events are on the monument grounds.
Yes.
Okay.
There is going to be a few events where we coordinate with the Wildlife Center, which is also the last Tuesday of May, the 31st. We're gonna coordinate with the Wildlife Center and do their Wild Tuesday that day.
Okay.
So we're trying to work also with other entities on the island to coordinate events to get more of a crowd to all places.
Well, that'll be fun for everyone then.
Yes.
That sounds like a busy summer for you guys. I have lots of things to organize. You talked some about your park ranger for kids, correct? Learning more about becoming a park ranger. What are the dates on that, and what are the events that are associated with that?
Well, our Perry Education Days, like I was saying, the 24th, 25th, and 26th, we'll have a booth set up, and that's something that we need to sit down and talk about on what days we're going to have a ranger out there to talk more about Centennial and the Centennial events of the Park Service, and also to talk about children on the job opportunities that you can have as you grow older and things like that in the Park Service.
Okay.
So just to get more interest for future generations to come to be included in the Park Service. It's
right, and I'm sure
us.
Kids are getting excited about this once they see everyone dressed up and giving information. So when visitors come up and they want to learn a little bit about history, they want to go up into the monument, they want to attend some of the events, what's a good itinerary for them? Because I know there's a lot of things to do and you want to fit it all in, so what would you suggest?
Either, if you get there early enough, hit the visitor center first thing, because if there is a line, it's going to be the shortest at 10 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, stop in the visitor center just to see what ranger programs are going on where in the park, and plan accordingly. And it's always nice to stop back in the visitor center, because it's, especially if it gets hot in there in the summer, or if it's rainy, it's a climate-controlled building. It's dry, so it's always a nice place to stop in just to see what's going on. Because never know, we plan 100 days out, and we're planning net perfect weather, but you hit July 20th or something, it's downpouring rain, and we might have to change things up a little. And
right, and we have to remember it's Ohio, so the weather changes. Maybe day to day. And in the museum, I know there's a gift shop, but what else is there in the museum that would be fun for visitors?
We have several exhibits on the Battle of Lake Erie, the war itself, but also we have pictures and documentation of the building of the monument from 1912 to 1915. We have also in there our 15-minute film on the battle, so if you need just to sit down on a comfy chair, 'cause on those hot days, it's a good place to just stop in, take time. Rangers are in there, so you can always pick their brain sort of what's going on, either in the park or a historic question.
Yeah.
Additionally, we have programs centered out of the visitor center. There'll be ranger talks in the afternoon, and on Fridays and Saturdays there'll be children's programs at 11:30 and 1:30.
Okay, and what are these children's programs involved?
These are environmentally based and talking about aliens on the island.
Aliens on the island? Oh my gosh, I don't know about that.
Well, alien invasive species.
Okay.
Of course, they also surround our island there in the water, aquatic.
Right, and Kathy Holbrook, she works for Perry's Monument, and also she has a great part in the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. Kathy, can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is a multi-billion-dollar program, and the entire goal is to attempt to restore the health of the Great Lakes. It's no secret that the Great Lakes, our inland seas in our country, are at risk.
They need some TLC.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so there's 12 national parks, actually, and each park has different strategies for dealing with this problem of alien invasive species. And they build different partnerships with different organizations to eliminate and combat that problem.
Okay, so you said one of your goals was obviously to restore the health of the Great Lakes.
Absolutely.
And what kind of, I'm not sure if you call them events, but what kind of initiatives are you doing to help the health of the Great Lakes? Are there events or are there programs that we can learn more about?
Well, for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, the goals are huge. And they are actually to remove invasive species from the parks. Okay. You may not realize it, but there's over 180 invasive species at our national parks. There are 12 national parks surrounding the Great Lakes. And visitors are actually some of the culprits. You see, they may be, visitors may be finding that they're having invasive species that actually hitch a ride on millions of park visitors that are traveling to our national parks around the Great Lake. Generally, most people don't know much about these dangerous plants, animals, or viruses, so the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative gets the word out and educates them about these unwanted invaders. Stop these aquatic hitchhikers now.
Right. So what can visitors do when they're traveling in between the parks and, to and from in between states and different cities? What can they do to help out with this, to help combat that?
Well, the Great Lakes are unique because these species get carried by modern-day transportation. And so they're moving from park to park on feet.
Okay.
On bicycles and cars, on boats. And so the thing that a lot of people forget is that the individual can have a great, great, great impact on our world. And I think, my comparison is that, yes, an ocean is a huge, mighty thing, but it's made up of individual drops of water. It wouldn't be an ocean without that.
Right.
And so that our problems can actually be solved by individuals as well. The concerned citizen can and does have an impact on environmental concerns. So what we do is we get the word out. Getting the word out at Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial is pretty easy. We are unique in that we have a lot of visitors.
Yes, and so that's a good way to spread the word.
I've been fortunate to have done this for the past 6 years, and EPA actually funds my position and the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative research and work. However, I am a National Park Ranger.
Right.
So what I have the joy to do is to bring this information to visitors here. And I just totaled up my numbers for the past 6 years on how many visitors that I've reached, with the help of the staff. It's not single-handed.
Right.
But you're looking at 400,130 visitors that heard, read, or saw videos about invasive species.
And so that can make a huge impact, just getting the word out there.
Absolutely.
And are there programs each day or each week that you do, or how do you get the word out?
First, when you come into the Visitor Center, we have got some amazing posters that are giveaways, a series of 4 posters that are educational.
Okay.
And so the visitors actually come and want to pay for them. They're so beautiful, but we assure them that they're theirs.
Yes.
And they tell visitors about specific plants and animals that are endemic to the Great Lakes that are a problem. See, these are tiny things, but they are a big problem.
Right. And what are some of these plants? Because I know some of the island kids right now are going into the woods and pulling mustard.
Yes, you did hit upon one of the number one problems. And sadly, again, the villain is not the plant or animal. We've met the enemy, and he is us, as Pogo said in 1970. But, it's people that are bringing the invasive species in. And it was our European ancestors that actually brought garlic mustard across the seas and the oceans. And one plant can put out 1 million seeds. So
wow. And in our tiny island, it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
If you go to our wildlife trail, you'll see that it's overcome. And like all invasive, it's overcome with garlic mustard. And like all invasive species, the garlic mustard outcompetes the natives. And so sadly, some of our native wildflowers aren't being seen. And if you are, there's a lot of people out in the woods this time of the year. They're looking for morel mushrooms.
Yes.
And so if you're one of these people that enjoy those, you might have a hard time finding them because the garlic mustard is outcompeting those. In fact, I've heard of people have gone to Michigan this week and they're sadly not finding any.
Oh, man. And I just learned about these morel mushrooms, and I just learned about how big of a hit they are, apparently, and the garlic mustard's taking them over. So, and I know that we had a student at Put-in-Bay School recently go out, and they filled up 6 garbage bags of this garbage mustard, and they were out for maybe an hour or two. So we know that that's a problem. And actually, they're having an event coming up in the next couple of days where they're going to the Jane Coates Wildlife Trail, and they're hoping they can get volunteers to come pull some of these invasive species.
And we're really down at this time of the year to just a few days of actually being able to harvest them, because they're in bloom now, and once they've turned to seed, then we would be causing more trouble. But that's a great effort. Every bit helps as well. And so that's a very good example of an invasive species right here in Put-in-Bay. We're especially concerned in the waters, and many of our invasive species actually came over to our Great Lakes as ballast on huge shipping freighters. Most people, in fact, our public is very, very educated and aware and alert of the species that are problems out there. And they include zebra and quagga mussels, of course the Asian carp.
Yes.
You know, if they're in here, they're going to outcompete our favorite whitefish, the perch, the walleye, and that will be big news for sure for our commercial fishermen and our area restaurants.
Exactly. We need our perch and walleye.
We surely do. Katie, I think the number one invasive species that most of us are concerned about, although it's many levers all working together, is that blue-green algae, the toxic blue-green algae. And, you know, you were asking what can people do to help?
Yeah.
That's actually a really good example, because first you have to protect your health. You know, a lot of people aren't aware. They come from all over the country and think they can just jump in the water anytime they want. If you go down to our historic bathing beach here at Put-in-Bay, you'll see a sign that says no swimming due to the algae. You need to keep yourself and your family safe by never swimming in a lake during a blue-green algae bloom. Actually keep your pets out of it as well. Never drink or cook with lake water, green or not. And the pathogens and contaminants may be present, and boiling water may not remove them.
Okay.
So what can the visitor do to help stop that? Actually, a lot. You know, everybody's pointing fingers at who is causing this problem. Well, there's a lot of things contributing to it, but the individual citizen can certainly make a dent using phosphate-free lawn care products.
Okay.
Regularly checking septic systems. You might have damaged septic systems that can contaminate nearby waters. So what's happening is these are contributing to the fertilizers that help to cause an algae bloom.
So it might be stuff that they can fix right in their own home. It's not just, you know, people may go to the big farming, but it's right in their own backyard that people can start to take care of our Great Lakes.
Exactly. So it's a combination of those fertilizers, not only professional, but ones people use on their lawns, animal wastes, and human wastes, of course, through public septic systems, so that cause this algae to bloom.
Right. So the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, they have these goals set up to fix these problems. Is there a timeline or anything else or any events that the visitors and listeners can go visit to help get the awareness out?
Absolutely. Fortunately, because this issue is so serious, it has just been refunded again. We're refunded.
Oh, great.
So here at the park, again, we have children's programs Fridays and Saturdays at 11:30 and 1:30. There are talks in the afternoons, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have activities on the island. We have partnerships right here. Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial works closely with Stone Lab, with the Garden Club here on the island, also with the Historic Bathing Beach Committee.
Okay.
They actually go out monthly, and anyone on the island, visitor or resident, is welcome to join the beach cleanup. We're actually pulling invasive species from the beach.
Okay, and
reclaiming that.
Is there an announcement every month what day that will be?
Yes, they usually go out by email, but we can post that at the visitor center as well.
Yeah, because I'm sure people would love to help clean up. Now, where can our listeners go to learn more about the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative? Is there a website that they can go to?
If you go to Perry's Victory's website, there'll be a link to go to a new blog that I'm just starting this week.
Oh, how fun!
It is fun. For example, this first blog is entitled Microscopic Monsters Are the Real Battle of Lake Erie. And so we're talking I'm talking specifically about blue-green algae. The title of this blog is Catch My Drift.
Catch My Drift. How catchy is that? Well, that's great.
Katie, it's really important that we do get the word out. And when you think about it, it is a Battle of Lake Erie. And today, the real Battle of Lake Erie.
It's a modern battle.
That column itself actually stands over the lake like a sentinel watching over the site of the War of the 1812 Battle of Lake Erie. Today, it's watching the ongoing environmental battle of non-native and alien invasive aquatic species. So, I find it totally amazing that it's watched over 100 and some invasive species come into our waters.
Right, and it's been there that whole time, and that's crazy. So, I mean, it's really important for our listeners to learn more about that, and it seems like the Park Service is really taking it into their own hands and educating people, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Many of your listeners are boat owners, and they are pretty aware of what they can do, and of course cleaning the debris off their boat between use, if they're trailering, is hugely important. If they're fishing, they need to appropriately get rid of their bait that's left over. I think it's really hard for us to watch. I know Rob and I ride the ferry every day, and we see visitors coming from far away taking these invasive species back on their boat to other bodies of water.
Yeah, so it just keeps spreading, but
right.
You're really making the effort to stop this and educate everyone.
Our beautiful natural harbor here brings in over 35,000 boats a year.
Yeah.
So if we can even get down there and continue getting the word out so that we can all be good citizens, caretakers of the world we live in. If we wear out the world we live in, where are we going to live?
Exactly. So I think that's a perfect way to say it.
And there are two more children-oriented events that we're going to be doing this summer during the Maritime Weekend. Our Mayfly Fest is going to be held on June 18th.
Okay.
And that's, we celebrate the Mayflies.
You gotta celebrate them.
Celebrate them, right?
If you can't beat them, celebrate them.
So our park is going to have, Stone Lab is going to be there to show children, what the mayflies do. They'll talk about them. They show them underneath a microscope so kids actually get to see what they look like up close. We'll most likely have an exhibit for invasives there, so also educating the kids on that. And then the following day, actually on Sunday the 19th, we're having a Youth Maritime Children's Explorer Day down in De Riviera Park. So going to be very similar to our Mayfly Fest here at the park. Same people doing a lot of the same things. But,
but that will be in the park.
Yes.
In De Riviera Park. Okay.
Yes. So we have one at our park and one at De Riviera Park, both, on the 18th and 19th, which is going to be pretty fun. The kids are going to love it. So
there's all these fun kid-friendly events on the island. I know some are timid to bring their families over here, but our island is really grown with kid-friendly events, which I think is great.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get them over here as much as we can.
Exactly, and they love it over there. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for coming in. Alison, Rob, and Kathy, I really enjoyed talking with you guys. And if our visitors, what is a website where visitors can go to learn more about our monument?
It's the www.mps.gov/PEVI.
Okay, and they can learn all about the hours and the events on there, and it'll be updated.
Yes.
And they can get to Kathy's blog as well through there, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you again, and hopefully you'll run into some of these listeners this summer.
That'd be great.
Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would once again like to thank Alison, Rob, and Kathy all for coming in today. They've taken time out of their busy day from getting the monument ready to open this weekend, and I'd like to thank them. They'd also like for me to mention that this summer there's going to be stargazing with Dr. Zajac and sunset tours all on the monument, and they're going to be posting these on social media and their events page, so look forward to that this summer as well. This weekend, we have the Perry's International and Peace Memorial Monument opening for the season, just like Allison had told us, from 10 to 6 every day. So that's always a big weekend for our Victoria weekend. Tonight, on May 20th, and tomorrow, May 21st, we have our Junior Drama Society play. This is going to be live theater at the Put-in-Bay Town Hall and fun for the whole family. The Put-in-Bay Arts Council is proud to sponsor the Junior Drama Society, which will be performed performing the complete works of William Shakespeare, which is the abridged. Directed by Catherine Washke, the play features 18 Put-in-Bay High School students, grades 5 through high school. It's going to be tonight and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Admission for adults will be $8, and it'll be $6 for students and seniors. So come support your Islanders in their theatrics. Perry's Monument, again, is opening tonight, and it'll be open from May 21st through September 11th. You can visit their website to get more information. Volunteers are needed May 21st, tomorrow, which is Saturday, to help keep our island beautiful. You can meet at the Jane Coates Wildlife Trail. It's at 10 a.m. to help remove the invasive species and keep our island beautiful. So this is a great way to not only help keep our island beautiful, but to walk the trails and see the beautiful wildlife we have over here on the island. Also, this is a very busy weekend. We have the island-wide garage sale from about 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Maps are available of all the different locations of the garage sales at the Chamber office downtown and also the Miller Ferry office. You can also visit the Lake Erie Island Historical Society resale shop, which is located behind the museum, which is behind the town hall and the Put-in-Bay Brewing Company. Coming up this week, you can also help keep our island beautiful by beautifying De Rivera Park. Volunteers are needed to help Put-in-Bay's Garden Club plant flowers in De Rivera Park. Every summer, volunteers can plant flowers, and they keep these flowers beautiful by watering them each day. You can meet on May 24th at 9 a.m. to prepare the baskets, and May 25th at 9 a.m. to plant these baskets. Ohio Bike Week is coming up from May 27th through June 5th, so put it on your calendars. Bikers hop aboard the Miller Ferry to Put-in-Bay with special discounted fares for motorcycles and riders during Ohio Bike Week. Adult passengers will be $12 round trip, which is $2 off the normal round trip fare of $14. Motorcycles will be $22 round trip, which will be $10 off the normal fare of $32 round trip. So bring your bikes over for the day or for the week and come enjoy our island. Coming up next weekend, May 28th through 30th, we also have our Memorial Day weekend celebration. You can learn more about the War of 1812 and thank our veterans and those who are serving. If you would like, you can contact Perry's Monument and International Peace Memorial for more information on this. All vets and active military, if they present their ID, can come aboard Miller Ferry for free. They are providing free transportation to all active military and American veterans on May 28th through May 30th. Visit the website millerferry.com to find out more information about this. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure giving you all the information, and I look forward to speaking to everyone again this coming Friday at 10. I'll see you then. Thanks.
You've been listening to Bay Talk with Katie Market, an insider's look at the islands. Brought to you by the Miller Ferry Boat Line, with service from Catawba Island to Put-in-Bay and Middle Bass Island. Join us next week at 10 a.m. here on WPCR and WPIB for more Bay Talk with Katie Market.